Hello and welcome to finals coverage here from Grand Prix Atlantic City. My name is Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Nate Price, and we've got a mirror match on our hands here, Nate.
We do. This has been kind of our story of the entire weekend, this sweet Bant Auras deck.
It is. So this is Bant Auras in the hands of Josh Utter-Leyton on the left side of your screen versus John Stern from Canada on the right side. You see he's got his Canadian flag proudly displayed on his sleeve there. And we've got a mirror match. This was a metagame call for this event, and it seems to be a great one. We see a good sportsman-like handshake before the games actually begin, and this match is going to decide who wins Grand Prix Atlantic City this year.
Now, there's something very important to point out. Play and draw is determined by the standings after the Swiss, and Utter-Leyton came into this in the third slot, where the fifth slot was occupied by John Stern. So Utter-Leyton is going to be on the play in this highly tempo-based mirror matchup.
Okay, that's a huge advantage for Josh Utter-Leyton. Additionally, he's gaining another advantage because John Stern is mulliganing.
But at the same time, despite the fact this deck needs a reasonable critical mass of enchantments to really get going, and critical mass of cards, the redundancy of the deck and the number of cards that can fill each role is so high that the deck mulligans fairly swell.
Yeah, let's take a look at how each of these players got here. Brad Nelson defeated Seneca Hobler in the quarters to advance to the semis, where he met with John Stern, who beat Matt Costa with his blue-white-red flash deck, and John Stern was able to get by Brad Nelson. We just watched that one thanks to Geist of St. Traft and a Spectral Flight on it. Yeah. Now he's in the finals. Josh Utter-Leyton, on the other hand, got by Ryan Leverone with Jund, and that put him in the semis against Ari Lax and his mono-red deck, who beat Lloyd Kurth with Esper in the quarters. Now they find themselves against each other in the finals. We didn't see a lot of this Bant Auras deck in large numbers out in the field this weekend.
No.
But the last two decks are both this deck, so it's become pretty apparent to us that this was an excellent metagame choice.
Yeah, Josh actually had a fairly difficult road to make it to the finals here. The Jund deck is not it's not a bad matchup, but it is definitely, it has the potential to beat him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then that mono-red matchup against Ari Lax is just so tough. I mean, it's an out-and-out race, and all it took was a simple stumble on a couple of occasions from Ari, and Josh managed to pull things off.
All right, so we should have an interesting one. This is the first time that we've had this matchup on camera, as, again, there wasn't a huge number of these out there to see too many mirrors, but we'll see how this goes. My guess is just that it's going to be not super interactive. I think that, we're going to see the first person to kind of assemble a nasty Voltron of draft leftovers and hexproof guys to take this thing down. Let's see which one can do it first. I think that John is kept here.
18.
And Josh Utter-Leyton confidently slams down Temple Garden, going down to 18, and plays an Avacyn's Pilgrim. That sets up a lot of great stuff for Josh. It could be a turn 2 Geist of St. Traft.
See at least a Silverblade Paladin in his hand.
That's another explosive element to the deck, and John has a similar start with a Forest into an Avacyn's Pilgrim. That looks like a Invisible Stalker off the top for Josh Utter-Leyton.
Indeed.
That plus Silverblade Paladin plus any aura in his deck basically equals a really quick clock. Let's see what Josh wants to lead with here.
He might decide to go Invisible Stalker, Rancor it. He does pair up.
All right, he's going to play the Silverblade Paladin and pair it up, and he knows that John Stern doesn't have many ways to interact with him. He's not going to, run some removal spell. He's not running Azorius Charms or anything like that. So Josh knows that even though this creature doesn't have hexproof, it doesn't really matter.
No, just put the power on the table, let it do the work.
That's right. These decks play very much like a combo deck. They care only what they do. They're essentially goldfishing, which is a term we use in Magic to describe when a deck is playing against nothing. It just wants to play its own spells and ignore what the other person's doing and try to do something more powerful more quickly than what the other person's doing. And both of these decks basically do that. Post-board, that changes. But before the sideboard, it's all creatures and auras, basically.
Yeah, and very interesting spot to take a look at exactly where we would be if the tables were turned and John Stern was on the play instead of the draw. He would be the one who gets to make the decision on how to attack this turn with a Geist of St. Traft versus his opponents having a...
so huge.
Yeah.
Especially getting in this hit with 2 double strikers here. It's absolutely... being on the play here is just immense.
Yeah, I mean, he has the ability to rancor up his 1-1 and...
all right, there's a rancor on the silver. Yeah, he just has nothing to fear.
Yep.
So he is going to attack right now for 4 with double strike and trample. So it's going to be 8 damage if it goes unblocked. I also see that Josh Utter-Leyton has his own Geist of St. Traft. If he's worried about it, he can just legend rule them out. That's exactly what he does. You cannot have 2 of the same legend on the battlefield at the same time. They both instantly get put into the graveyard. That's exactly what happened here.
The only removal spell in both decks.
Yeah, exactly. And Josh has a commanding board presence right now. John Stern down to 12. And Josh has a 4-2 double striking, trampling Silverblade Paladin. And he's also got a 1-1 double striker with the Avacyn's Pilgrim as well.
I mean, you know, little
just
guy.
For
fencing
value.
ace.
Yeah.
Build your own fencing ace. Because the ones he's running in his main deck aren't enough.
No, and he is in fact running those, and he's got his own fencing ace there. What that means is that if John can't do something pretty dramatic to the board, that Josh Utter-Leyton could potentially be 1 aura of basically any type away from just winning this game next turn. I think I see a Hollowed Fountain in Josh's hand. I can't see the other card.
It's Invisible Stalker, I believe.
Oh, that's right. We saw that from earlier, so it should still be the Invisible Stalker there. So that would mean that he's going to need to draw something if he wants to win next turn, but he's still in a fantastic position either way. John Stern is carefully deciding how he wants to proceed here. He does not have any room for error, but I don't know if he has any way to get out of this. The second Geist? No, he's going to play an Invisible Stalker, and he's going to put a Rancor on it, but that is just not enough. He's going to... Basically, he has to threaten to one-shot Josh.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really hard, especially considering that he mulligan. I think Josh has Invisible Stalker and Fencing Ace in his hand.
Oh, man. Brothers.
This is standard, by the way, guys. Oh, man.
This is a sweet draft
This
deck.
is awesome. All right, now those aren't going to affect the board immediately, so Josh probably just still has the same attack that he did last time. He's going to attack with both, however, which represents 10 points of damage here.
John knows he doesn't have anything other than that, so he just takes it and goes to 2.
Yeah, because John's plan here is to try to put out enough punch to take Josh from 18 to 0.
Yeah, the one real downside about being at 2 is it also means that any shock lands that he draws are dead as far as generating the mana needed to play a bunch of auras.
Yeah, and like exactly, that's a great point because he's going to need as much mana as he can get here. I mean, he's going to need Silverblade Paladin
and
another Rancor.
Ethereal armor.
Yeah, I don't even know if there. I haven't done the math obviously on how many cards he has in his hand versus how much mana he has, but it seems unlikely that he's going to be able to get in for 18.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I mean, he'd need to get up to a 9 power. So if he could go
and have it have double strike.
Yeah,
and so he just doesn't have enough resources to do that. And Josh Utter-Leyton is 1 game away now.
Now this is where
from
it gets
a Grand Prix
interesting.
victory.
Sideboarding is a little bit different because where Josh has the ability to bring in cards like Feeling of Dread and Strangleroot Geist, Wolfear Avenger in this situation now that he he's on the draw, so I don't know how much the Strangleroot Geist actually makes it in. On the other side, John has got Nearheath Pilgrims in his sideboard, which are traditionally good against the red-based decks, but in this kind of racing matchup, giving a 5-power creature that your opponent can't stop, lifelink, is a very quick way to turn things in your favor. So
absolutely,
it looks to me like post game 1, John has a reasonable advantage in this matchup.
I see they both have 2 Feeling of Dread, which can be good in the matchup, although the hexproof creatures make that a lot worse.
Yeah, it's about 50-50.
Yeah, so you just don't really know what you're going to face. I don't know, how confident you can be bringing those in. He's also got some interesting choices. Loxodon Smiter which I don't think that Josh has access to Loxton and Sminer, right?
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah, which, can block well. A couple of upcoming webcasts here for us on the Magic the Gathering Grand Prix coverage team. Pro Tour Gate Crash is going to be February 15th through 17th, and the next weekend after that thank you, Rashad, is Grand Prix Quebec City, which is February 23rd and 24th the next weekend.
Yeah, you and I and maybe Rich.
Yeah. Are going to be doing coverage there. We're going to be in the Canada. We're going to actually just stay.
Yeah, we're in Canada for
15
days,
yeah, it's
basically.
It's going to be quite a while. And so come join us for those for sure. The Pro Tours are always awesome to watch on the video cast, and we're going to have a great GP to follow it up.
Pro Tours are the only events that I'm actually, I do coverage for. And after doing coverage the entire day, I actually go back at some point and watch the video coverage that happened during that day later on in the same day.
Even though you know most of the results, you just want to see what happened on video.
I'm 20 feet away from where the video is actually being recorded, but it's so sweet I have to check it out.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting exercise in sideboarding because if John, I think John's got the better sideboard for the matchup.
But it's not that much better, right?
It's not. It's incremental. But at the same time, a lot of Josh's sideboard is dedicated more towards play draw, I think. I honestly do think that those, the Strangleroot Geists and the Garrick Relentlesses that he's got are cards that he brings in when he's on the play versus a two on the draw. Less matchup dependent than anything else. And so those cards are unlikely to make it in the main deck in this round. But should John squeak this out and take this game and take it to game 3 when Josh will be on the play, those cards might make it back in. He'd be in a racing situation, and that's when those cards generally tend to come back in, is when you're on the play against another aggressive deck.
Okay.
Then those Feeling of Dreads in the sideboard that we said were possibly good, possibly bad, they go from being 50-50 to being 75-25 useful. So very interesting to see how things actually play out.
Seattle came back and led 28-27 with under a minute left.
I hear Jared Silva telling a very sad tale right now, one that I don't care to listen to.
Oh, man. That's how it ended in 30 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You had a good year, man.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Hey, you're not going to offer the same thing to me?
No.
Fine, screw you, buddy. Both of our teams led by rookie quarterbacks seem to do fairly well, but that's another game.
Indeed. We are concentrating on a mental sport here. All right, game 2 of the finals here from Atlantic City. Josh Utter-Leyton on the verge of potentially winning a Grand Prix in Standard here. John Stern, though, on the play is going to have a huge advantage in this matchup.
Yes. So much of this comes down to tempo. It comes down to 1 turn, 2 turns. I mean, we saw that last game, how different the situation would have been if John had been on the play instead of the draw. It would have been his Geisting Traft that was getting to make the first offensive move as opposed to the Silverblade Paladin from Utter-Leyton.
That's right, and this deck, with the way that it deals damage, usually reduces it down to either 2 or 3 turns. Yeah. So the first one that gets to hit obviously has a massive edge. All right, so it's going to be a Temple Garden tapped, and he's going to pass the turn. Josh Utter-Leyton plays a Hollowed Fountain tapped and just ships the turn back. Let's see what John's got. This is an important turn 2. Okay, it's a Near Heath Pilgrim. You mentioned this out of the sideboard, and that can help change the race into his favor. Now, sometimes, though, this deck can just deal damage in such massive chunks that it doesn't matter if you gain a little bit of life, but if one of the paired creatures with the Pilgrim is the one dealing the damage, then it can certainly negate an attack from his opponent, Josh Utter-Leyton, as Josh lays down an Invisible Stalker. 1/1 hexproof, and it's unblockable. He's drawn, John Stern just drew his own Invisible Stalker.
I also love the fact that the sideboard cards we're talking about being meaningful are, again, just limited all-stars.
They really are. It's funny.
Near Heath Pilgrim he's all right. He's an all right man in draft.
He is. Very solid 2-drop. All right, looks like John wants to play an untapped land, so he's going to take a couple of damage here. Does that signal Geist of St. Traft to you?
Signals either Geist of St. Traft or Invisible Stalker and something else.
Oh, I see. Yeah, he could be two things. Yeah, there's a whole lot he could do with the 3 mana. It is a Geist of St. Traft this time. Now, is he going to pair these up?
I don't see why he wouldn't.
Indeed. Now, does he attack? He does. He offers a trade here with the Invisible Stalker. This Nearheath Pilgrim does have lifelink since it's paired up with the Geist of St. Traft. So Josh really has to figure out how important is that Nearheath Pilgrim to the way that this game comes to an outcome.
Well, Utter-Leyton's likely next turn play is his own Geist of St. Traft negating that of John Stern. So if he blocks here, it effectively resets the game.
Mm-hmm. But again, with John Stern being the first one to untap. Yeah, on the play, right.
So it's really a question of how he intends to follow that up. Like if his 2 turns from now is going to potentially leave him in a better spot than he thinks John's will, he'll block.
All right, and he does in fact block. Nearheath Pilgrim is going to hit the bin, and John's going to go back up to 20 life. So they're both at 20. And let's see if Josh does want to just reset the board here. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I would be more surprised if he didn't.
Yeah, he's got a Silverblade Paladin as well that he could play, but it just doesn't block.
Nope, he actually is going to just
all right, there it is. Silverblade Paladin. All right, so it's not going to block, but it is going to set up for a huge attack the next turn.
Yeah, he might be trying to bait John into using an enchantment on that Geist of St. Traft.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then just kill it afterwards and get the whole 9 yards.
Again, you mentioned it almost in joking, but it is really one of the only removal spells that these guys have is the other Geist of St. Traft. All right, so Geist is going to attack with no aura on it. And since that Silverblade Paladin doesn't have Double Strike being unpaired, it seems unlikely that he'll trade, but he could.
He might, since he'll be able to follow it up with his own Geist of St.
Okay,
Traft.
yeah. Hey, that's also a line of play that...
in fact, I would not be upset with Josh Utter-Leyton in the slightest if that's what he did.
Mm-hmm. It depends on if he thinks he can take... Because the problem is that... Oh, he's going to take it. So he is going to... So the plan has to be then to play your own Geist of St. Traft, killing his... But then he's going to play a 1-drop. He can suit up the Silverblade Paladin, but it just still doesn't have Double Strike. It just doesn't have that big punch. It's going to take another turn before he can do that.
Yeah.
All right, Invisible Stalker for John Stern. And let's see what Josh's plan is here. He's thinking just drew another Geist, so he's got these Geists jammed up in his hand here as well. So maybe he could play something like Geist Rancor and just attack for 4.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem unreasonable. Nope, he's just going to attack for 2 damage. And John's going to drop down to 18. All right, there's a Geist of St. Traft. And he's just going to play a tap land and say go.
Didn't get maximum value, but...
No, but John definitely played around it. Let's see if John has something to follow up, though. Does he have, maybe an increasing savagery or something like that to put on his... Nope, he doesn't. He's just going to attack for 1 with Invisible Stalker. Does this mean he just has another Geist to play?
Very likely.
That's exactly
so he's going to be a little disappointed when he finds out that Utter-Leyton does as well.
That's right. And Josh, though, just needs something to pair up. I see that Josh has an increasing savagery in his hand.
Yeah.
But he just needs something to pair up. Like he'll have 2 extra mana. He could have his own Invisible Stalker, bash in there for 4, and kill his opponent's Geist. That would put him in a prime position to take down this game.
What did he draw this turn? Was it a Wolfear Avenger? Or was it just a land? Like I can't actually tell what he drew. He put it in his hand and shuffled it to the back, and then started shuffling his hand. So
yeah, I haven't had a chance to see it quite either. I don't think he has Wolfear Avenger, but it's certainly possible. All right, Geist of St. Traft, kill your Geist of St. Traft, attack for 2. So he doesn't have
it's not a creature.
That ability. He just ships a turn back. So he's got, it looks like 2 lands and an increasing savagery, so he just needs any creature. All right, and John Stern also doesn't have an aura. He just attacks for 1. Does he have another Geist? He does.
Oh, man. I mean, an Avacyn's Pilgrim is a pretty good draw here. Rancor.
That is a Rancor, but that is still not... I mean, it's going to be fine, don't get me wrong. He's gonna be able to play Increasing Savagery and Rancor on his Silverblade Paladin and hit for 9. So I guess that is actually just enough of a clock on its own just to be 2 turns without any pairing going on. On the backswing, he would take 7 as the board sits, so can John come up with something? Like if John has his own increasing savagery and can play it, like he needs to hit a land to do it, then that would be exactly lethal. Wow, this is a really, really close game here. You gotta love it.
I love these so much.
Yeah.
There's so many small little decisions that can be made. When to play the Geist? Do I take this damage? How do I pump this guy? What do I pump him with?
So Josh, I think, has 2 spells and 2 lands in his hand. He's got Increasing Savagery, Rancor, a Forest, and an Island, I believe.
It's almost certainly like double pump his guy. The question then becomes, I mean, at that point, you just, do you attack or do you not attack?
I mean, what do you...
Because
I guess he could just play Increasing Savagery and not attack, but then he takes 5, and he makes that Invisible Stalker a lot better for his opponent. So let's let Josh...
Yeah, but the whole idea of not doing that is if you don't do that, you're setting yourself up to potentially win in one swing when you get if you draw a creature to pair with.
That's right. So if you manage to draw any creature,
the deck has a few, except for a Geist of St. Traff, that won't do it.
Right, but then that also puts you in a not bad situation. All right, so here's the Rancor.
Yeah.
And here comes Increasing Savagery. Now, is he going to attack is the question. All right, so put 5 counters on this and hit you for 9. All right, so he's put the onus right back on John Stern to draw a land if he's already got Increasing Savagery in his hand, and draw Silverblade Paladin or something to make a big punch happen. What did he draw?
Might have been a Rancor.
Josh Utter-Leyton applying the pressure to John Stern. He just hit him for 9 with a Silverblade Paladin that does not have double strike.
So we're looking at 7. John needs to find 5 damage here somehow.
I think he just drew a Selesnya Charm, which actually is a great draw here because it's live. It exiles the Silverblade Paladin. He's going to have to leave mana up because John has been stuck on 3 lands for the majority of the game here. Josh Utter-Leyton has plenty of lands at his disposal, but most of his creatures have died because he's been using Geist of St. Traff to kill other Geist of St. Traffs. All right, sure enough, Selesnya Charm is going to take out that Silverblade Paladin, and it's going to set up John to attack here for 7 damage at least. Did you say you thought he had a Rancor?
I think it might have been another Selesnya Charm.
Okay, he's got a Spectral Flight that he's going to put on his Invisible Stalker, and he is going to attack for 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's going to drop Josh all the way down to 3. Josh is staring at 2 lands in his hand, and he's in a really bad position. It's a Silverblade Paladin.
There's nothing he can do here.
Sorry, not 2 lands. He's got a land and a Rancor, but it is not enough. And Josh Utter-Leyton's going to scoop up his cards as John Stern strikes back and takes Game 2 of the finals here from Grand Prix Atlantic City. Woo! Tight games.
Yeah, it's all that game came down to the basket.
I'm not sure how much these guys practice the mirror. I mean, you'd think it might come up a little bit, but they wouldn't put significant amount of testing time into it because you probably wouldn't assume you're going to face this deck.
No, I would imagine not. I would imagine that any cards you've got that happen to be good in the sideboard of the mirror matchup are coincidental because they happen to be good against other decks. So
you can see some of Josh's friends are watching on in the background. There's David Ochoa with his mustache.
There's also David Ochoa's mustache.
That's right, which is watching something else. But
I mean, they're friends on Facebook.
I saw VD back there, too. He won the last GP in Denver. It was Legacy.
Ran pretty well here, too. I think pretty sure he top 64 at least.
Guy can play some Magic.
Yeah, he can.
All right, John Stern.
Wondering what sideboard changes Josh made, whether he actually did go ahead and add those Strangleroot guys and the Garruk Relentless or not.
I think, again, that game did show, though, that being on the play, how important it is because Josh was forced to react to John's Geist of St. Traffs and had a hard time finding a time to be proactive. He also drew a few too many lands there to have enough action, but really almost any creature at many points of that game would have enabled Josh to attack for just a ton of damage, but he couldn't find anything.
There's also the question of the turn that he chose not to immediately kill the Geist of St. Shaft, seemingly trying to get value by maybe potentially taking an Enchanter with it. It was a 6-point swing, and that 6 points was enough that it would have. I mean, it would not have bought him exactly the amount of time that he needed, but we would have seen at least one more card off the top of his deck, and it might have been enough to be able to play the Silverblade Paladin, rancor it up, and then draw another creature to pair up.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, this matchup looks extremely tight. It doesn't look like you have any wiggle room at all.
No, it's all edges.
And yeah, it's small edges, and also, there's not a lot of interaction here. If there's a couple of hexproof creatures down, those Celestia Charms aren't doing a whole lot.
Yeah. The basket does make a big difference. Because if that Silverblade Paladin was anything other than if it was an Invisible Stalker or a Geist of St. Shaft, that game's totally different.
It's totally different.
But we also, we did see the other removal spell in the deck with the Celestia Charm just become important.
Yeah,
so.
And it happened to be important there. Same thing with cards like Feeling of Dread that they both have on their board.
Yeah.
It's just hard to predict because, like you said, it's about 50-50 whether you're going to see a hexproof creature or not.
Yeah. It's interesting because, those cards like Celestia Charm is reactive more often than not, and if you want to be the person who's on the play and on the attack, the reactive cards are less good. That just happened to be one of the situations when it worked out perfectly because John wasn't on the offensive immediately, but set himself up in a situation where he could take care of the lone offender on Josh's side.
That's right. All right, Game 3 of the finals here. That's right. And we're going to see an aura fight here. You have to think that Josh Utter-Leyton has the advantage. He is on the play this game, and that has proven to be very important here. But it isn't the end all. This is not a coin flip at all. So let's see what Josh Utter-Leyton has for his opener, and if he's got a hand that he can keep.
Well, let's see, 7 spells, 6 spells in a land, yeah.
6 spells in a land, so Josh Utter-Leyton's got to ship it back.
We did
he
see
just needs the correct pieces to assemble, and he can apply enough pressure in a very quick time frame, and he can beat John. So this mulligan isn't awful for Josh, although of course it's not ideal. Now it looks like John has kept, so he's got a 7 that he's happy with, and he's on the draw, so his hand's only going to get better. But he is facing down being on the draw.
Yeah.
Which is just going to make it tough for him.
Let's see what kind of draw Josh can put together here. It's a strange matchup, the fact that being the one disadvantage that can really come from being on the play with this deck is when it comes to Geist of St. Shaft. The Geist of St. Shaft is a much better card to have on the draw because of the fact that you get to you force your opponent to waste their turn rather than being the one whose turn actually gets wasted. Although I guess
you mean on the play?
No. If you have it on the play, you play it, and your opponent. Your opponent wastes their turn also. But if you're not, I guess if you get something out before it, then you have the ability to continue attacking down while your opponent is responding to your own threats.
Right, because the key is that you play a Geist, and if you make them use their turn to play a Geist, and you get to be the first one to play the next threat.
Yeah.
Right, and so you're going to be the first one attacking, and there's not a lot of blocks that are going to go on here. I mean, once you get some double strike or any other type of ethereal armors and stuff, the blocks just become irrelevant.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if Josh has a 6 that he can keep. He looks at it.
Interesting.
I see he's got an Abundant Growth and a Forest.
Is it a Hinterland Harbor also?
I couldn't quite see, but he's got a Garrick Relentless.
Yeah, just do a rancor.
If it's a Hinterland Harbor, then it is indeed, and he's in a much better position then. But he does have all the colors that he needs. All right, turn 1 Avacyn's Pilgrim for John Stearns. A great start for him. It looks like Josh has just drawn an Avacyn's Pilgrim of his own. He's going to play the Harbor, and he's going to lead off with a Fencing Ace. All right, so that's stage 1 complete for Josh Utter-Leyton. What can John do to answer here? Building a better battle cruiser.
Yeah.
Let's see what John's got.
I know that Josh has got a potential Yamato cannon and that rancor he's got in his hand right there. All right.
All right, Geist of St. Shaft comes down for John Stern. pretty ideal turn 2 play for John.
Yeah, Josh is probably going to see a Ranker and an Avacyn's Pilgrim on this turn, get in for 6.
Certainly a significant amount of pressure.
Yeah, he's got his own Geist of St. Trash. He just doesn't have that 3rd mana source.
The judge is making sure that things are moving forward, and the Ranker is going to come down on the fencing ace, and he is going to attack. So it's 6 damage. He names
he did have another land in
He
this
did, and he's going to play an Avacyn's Pilgrim, but that's his last play here.
That's what he was thinking
ship
about.
It back. So he's got a Garrick and a Invisible Stalker in hand. Is that correct?
Garrick
or is that a
Invisible
Curiosity?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll have to take a look. He would have played Curiosity if that's what it was.
Yeah, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, draw 2 cards seems good. So it's going to be an Invisible Stalker and a Garrick Relentless in hand. He can use a Garrick Relentless to take out the opposing Avacyn's Pilgrim the next turn, which can help constrain John's mana, especially depending on if he hits his mana drop, his land drop here or not.
Yeah.
All right, 3 mana for John.
This might be a Paladin.
If it's a Paladin, that's very bad news for Josh Utter-Leyton, and it is indeed.
Although he's got the Garrick Relentless to take it out immediately on his turn.
That is true. He's going to pair it up. He's going to play. Is this a Ranker?
That's a big beat.
This is a Ranker. All right, so this is going to be a huge damage hit, but it is not going to kill Josh Utter-Leyton. He is still very much alive.
Is it dropping to 10?
He's going to take 6 plus 4 in the air, so it's 10. Josh has really no blocks here. Just going to take it to the dome, and it's going to put him down to 10.
8, no, 12. Took him to 8.
Oh, was it 12?
Yeah.
4, right. 4, 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12. My bad, I miscounted. So 12 is going to drop Josh to 8 life. And he draws a Silverblade Paladin here.
Less impressive since this guy already has double strike.
That is true.
I'm pretty sure. Man, this is a rough spot to be in for Josh because.
So if Josh taps out and kills Silverblade Paladin with Garrick, what happens? He gets attacked back with a 4/2 trample and a 4/4 in the air. So he needs to have something back that can block. So he does in fact do that, but right now just that. And he passes the turn because he just can't afford to attack here because the Geist of St. Traft is lethal.
Yeah. Which this is another one of those interesting hiccups because if John doesn't kill Josh on this turn, the possibility exists that he gets to untap and turn around and return the favor.
That's right.
If he draws a
Ranker or something.
Yeah, I was thinking
all right, there's a Spectral Flight, though, on it, and that should just about do it here. Josh Utter-Leyton is tapped out. He has no answers here, and John is going to go to attacks. He's going to make an Angel, and I think that's going to do it. Josh gives him a quick joke, and that's it. John Stern is your champion here from Grand Prix Atlantic City. Woo! All right, so John Stern from Canada is our champion.